Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Ask the Educator podcast. This is Kevin Anderson, your host. And with me today on this episode, I had to kind of kick out Adam for a little bit because he was doing episodes on his own and I kind of got jealous. So now I have Cheron Rojo with me, partly because we actually have a webinar, coming up in August all about PPE and understanding protective barriers, featuring Cheron Rojo, and he's going to answer a lot of questions during that webinar having to do with ANSI AAMI PB70, TIR11, things that I don't really know that much about, admittedly. So I'm looking forward to getting into that with this podcast here, but we only kind of just get into it a little bit here, and that's why I like to kind of plug the webinar version. So Cheron, with that, tell me a little bit about PB70. I know you're a past co-chair. Now we have Dr. Brad Catalone on there as the new co-chair from Healthmark as well. But this is one that's near and dear to you. So how about a quick introduction to that?
Yeah, without spoiling it too much, PB70 is really protective barriers. And originally it is, or currently is, a manufacturer document. So it's kind of like guides them of what needs to be done, like testing and other items and labeling and such, just to kind of give you a quick little cliff notes of it. But there are other things in there now that kind of changes that a little bit to a little bit of a user document. And TIR, specifically 11, is really a guide to PB70.
Okay.
So as you know, is a technical information report, and it kind of gives also the history of protective barriers as well.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things I thought about PB70 is it does talk about the AAMI levels, right? And
Correct.
That was something that if folks were able to listen to the other podcast with Adam, we talked about our new decontam gown, which has an AAMI level associated with it. But just for folks who haven't seen that podcast or heard of this before, or maybe they don't know the details, I think it's a good idea to just answer that question. You know, what is the difference between the AAMI levels in the gowns? Because I think there's some important distinction there.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. I think that is something that a lot of users don't know. So there are 4 levels of gowns, and those levels are basically like a hierarchy. And it's really the type of protection that you're getting. And within those levels, for the manufacturer side, there is specific testing that is done for each one of those levels. So as you go up from I would say more from a 3 to a 4, there are, especially 4, there's a lot more testing involved with that. And it makes sense because each one of those levels is used in different parts of, a facility or a task. For an example, an isolation gown would be probably more of a lower level, but then something that would be, sterile would be a level 4. So I don't know if that kind of explains that, but that's kind of in a nutshell what that looks like.
Yeah, and so like a AAMI level 3 might be a common level for what I remember as surgical gowns. We did AAMI level 3s for a lot of things, but when I was doing ortho, typically I would try and find an AAMI level 4 because there was a lot more exposure to, blood and water and all this stuff during surgery, which is kind of on par with what we're doing in decontam. If not, actually, we're probably getting a little more exposure, to be honest, in decontam than even in some of the more heavy soiled surgeries. So why is that important, though, in the real world? Like, what are we seeing, or what are you seeing when you go into decontam? Why does it matter that people understand these different levels and the correct PPE and what the standards say about those things and how our policies should reflect, what we should be wearing in decontam?
Well, to start off with, a few years ago, there was a pretty significant revision with PB70. Besides, again, without getting into the webinar, it was more of, wow, we have a new gown. And this gown is called a decontamination gown. But there were other things that were new. But this specific gown, it states a minimum level 3.
Okay.
Now, that's a game changer here because we've all been in decantams where we may know the levels.
Yep.
Or even if we didn't, we can feel the difference. And they were using level 1s, level 2s, and some, I don't even know what level it was, but it was not appropriate for that task.
Yep.
What we're seeing out there is quite a combination in PPE in general. Yeah. If they're wearing it or wearing it correctly, that's number one. Yeah. They're making up PPE. And I know you know what I'm talking about, where I would even do it back in the day, where I wouldn't have like the right glove, it wouldn't fit right. So I would get scissors and steam tape, all these things that weren't appropriate. And it would take 15 minutes to make my gloves, you know,
gosh,
and then gowns.
MacGyver.
Right. MacGyver it, right? And then, now when we do focus assessments out in facilities, I'm also seeing they're wearing multiple gowns because the gown that they have doesn't provide them the protection they need.
Right.
And even if it's a level 4, which I don't know when we're ever going to get into that, you got to be a smart shopper with it, because all level 4 gowns are not the same. They're the same, but they could have additional features to them. Right. And remember, they're tested to a surgical procedure. Yeah. So if I'm in decontam with a big thing of water and chemistry, and I have a gown that is a level 4, standard level 4, I'm probably going to get strike through. Right. Because these are tested a different way, right? Yeah. But we needed to put something in the document to say, no, we need at least a level 3 for something, some type of protection and above. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question, Kevin, but we see quite a bit of different things out there.
Yeah, and I think it's a topic that I'm glad we're doing a little bit more than just one, podcast on it, because it is important. Like the way you use and select PPE can change practice. You mentioned having to MacGyver your own gloves and things like that. If you don't have the right gloves, whether they're really long ones or sleeve gloves like this, I've seen people where they change their practice and they only fill the sink to this low level because they won't get the ingress of water into their gloves. So that's probably not ideal because you're not getting the full submersion of your instruments or things like that. So the barrier selection process, whether it's a gown or a glove or a face shield, all of that stuff matters because it changes the way you practice in decontam, just like it would in surgery. There were surgeons who wouldn't put on face shields or goggles because it changed the way they could see. Do I recommend that? No. But I've seen that in decontam as well. In our travels, you go in and you see people all gowned up and they got their gloves or whatever, but they don't have their face shield on. And I don't know how you do that without, putting yourself at risk, knowing that these things are splashing and all of that. So I don't know, this topic of PPE and protective barriers, it's so important. I just wonder, what are some other highlights do you think that the listeners should know about as it pertains to some of the high level points from that they can expect for you to get more in detail on the webinar?
Well, the one thing that stands out for me is how to be a better shopper, because we're not taught that, right? It's kind of like we're just using what we're familiar with or where we came from, right? If you've worked at multiple facilities, but we really don't know how to not just be a better shopper, but how to trial effectively. And TR11 does actually have a graph to actually use, our table, where you can use it to mark and put the technician's name and the date and kind of go over these key features like breathability. Does it tear? Does it rip? Do they have the right sizes? Maybe they don't have all the different sizes, right? And then also in the TR11, it also states that to evaluate your PPE every 2 years. And nobody knows that it's even there. So you're going to be surprised with the webinar. Again, I don't want to tell you too much, but that's another thing is about, well, if these are all level 4s and, this one's, I don't know, 2 pennies and this one's $20 or whatever, you can't really let price, it's easy for me to say that because I'm not in purchasing. I'm not, in this, buying power. But the price, you cannot let it fool you because if you're getting 2 pennies, you're getting 2 pennies worth, right? I always tell people it's either Dollar Tree or Gucci. And I know you want probably the maybe in between at Macy's. I don't know. Yeah. But one example is like this gown, level 4, obviously. And if you were to, show, between different gowns, looks very similar. Yeah. But the difference is that inside of it, which I will show you, there's this white area, this diamond area here in the front. Yep. And in the front of that is another additional barrier. And that additional barrier is to help you not get strike through. Yep. Now, strike through, for me, I'm short. And when I get strike through, it's literally up into my neck. Because we didn't have adjustable seats back then, Kevin, okay? Yeah. And if someone's really tall, it's going to be lower. So they're getting this chemistry, the debris and water. It's just gross stuff. But this will help you have that extra protection. Because right now, people are wearing a level 4 and putting an apron over it. Yeah. Or they're making something called nests. Are you familiar with that? Where they get sheets and towel? I did that. Yes. And I would literally spend 20 minutes making a nest, and then I would change it periodically because I was trying to protect me getting drenched in the front and up to my neck. So, but again, no one really knows what to look for and asking the right questions and be able to trial them effectively.
No, those are great points. I love the idea about being a good shopper because I don't think people focus enough on this important area because it just becomes normal. When you walk in to do an assessment and a decontam and people are walking around with no face shield, you can tell they're not really thinking about it. And I understand that there are a lot of real priorities to deal with and fires to put out in SPD every single day. So there's no judgment there at all. But we do these podcasts to try and heighten some awareness around that. There's some very important issues to tackle. You mentioned the nesting thing. I think I might have mentioned this on the podcast with Adam, but we had people coming out of decontam all wet, and I had no idea because they had an isolation gown. They didn't have an AAMI level gown at all. But some places you go and they're using the OR's hood system and they're using the OR's gowns because there are some people out there who really take the PPE seriously. But if you're not assessing the situation, what are your people using and doing a proper trial, you might find out you're actually wasting money because they're going up to the OR and they're grabbing sterile, AAMI level surgical
more
gowns.
Expensive. Yeah.
Hood systems, all of this other things because they're not getting the proper PPE supplied to them for the task at hand. So I think that is an excellent point to end on. I do want to call out as we wrap up here, again, look for that webinar in August, Understanding the Protective Barriers Standards. Learn about TIR11 and PB70. I encourage you. Hopefully you'll come out a little bit better of an expert than myself because we got Cheron, the old co-chair of PB70, hanging out with us. So that's it for this episode, and thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.